The first thing you have to understand is that you are not alone in feeling alone. It is one of the great silent paradoxes of ambition. You stand at the edge of a decision, a dream, a path so clear to you it feels like a physical place you could walk to, and you turn, expecting to see a chorus of nodding faces, a crowd of hands ready to push you forward, and you see nothing, just empty space. Maybe even faces turned away, shaking heads, polite smiles that don't reach the eyes. The silence isn't just an absence of noise, it's a presence. It has weight. It presses down on your chest and makes the path ahead seem not just long, but ludicrous. This is where most dreams go to die, not in failure, but in that silent, weighty vacuum. We are tribal creatures, wired for connection and validation. When the tribe withholds its approval, a deep, ancient part of our brain sounds an alarm. It whispers, "If you are alone in this, you must be wrong. If no one else sees it, it cannot be real. Turn back, rejoin the group. Safety is in the consensus." You must recognize this whisper for what it is, an evolutionary survival mechanism, not a truth teller about your modern-day aspirations. Its job is to keep you safe in a tribe on a savanna, not to propel you toward a unique contribution in a complex world. So, the initial step to succeeding when no one supports you is to perform a quiet internal ceremony. Acknowledge the loneliness, feel its weight, and then, deliberately, consciously, decide to carry it with you. Not as a burden that will crush you, but as a necessary piece of luggage for the journey. This loneliness is the tax you pay for a vision that is, for now, yours alone. With that acceptance, the architecture of your success must be built on a new, radically internal foundation. Your validation cannot come from external applause if there is none. It must come from a different source. You become your own board of directors, your own cheering section, your own most stringent critic. This starts with clarity. You must define with brutal precision what success means for this endeavor. Not in vague terms like, "I want to be successful," or "I want to make it." That is a lighthouse shrouded in fog. You need coordinates. Is it writing a 90,000-word novel? Is it reaching a specific revenue number? Is it mastering a skill to a demonstrable level? Write this definition down. Carve it into the wall of your mind. This document, this private contract with yourself, becomes the North Star when every other light has gone out. Next, you build a system not around motivation, but around discipline. Discipline is mechanical. Discipline is the simple, non-negotiable agreement you make with yourself. I will write for 1 hour every day before work. I will practice this drill 50 times every single day. I will make 5 outreach calls every Tuesday and Thursday. The support you lack from others is replaced by the structure you impose upon yourself. You are no longer relying on a cheering crowd to lift you up. You are relying on the tracks you have laid down, one by one, that your locomotive of effort will run on, regardless of the weather outside. This system needs fuel, but the fuel cannot be feeling supported. The fuel must be purpose. You must connect your lonely endeavor to a deep personal why. Why is this important to you? Not to your parents, not to your friends, not to some abstract societal standard. To you. Is it a form of expression you cannot contain? Is it a problem you are uniquely haunted by? Is it a version of yourself you feel compelled to build? This why is your internal furnace. When the world is cold and indifferent, you stoke that fire. You return to it in journals, in quiet moments of reflection. It is the story you tell yourself about why the struggle is meaningful. It transforms the journey from proving them wrong to proving yourself right. There's a profound difference. One is reactive and drains energy. The other is generative and creates it. In the absence of supporters, you must also become a ruthless curator of your environment. This doesn't mean cutting people out of your life, but it does mean managing the sources of input. Limit your exposure to voices, even well-meaning ones, that drip with skepticism or pity. the realistic friend, the concerned family member. Their words, though not malicious, are like small weights tied to your ankles. You wouldn't train for a marathon with ankle weights you didn't need. So you learn to deflect. You learn the art of the vague, graceful response. I'm just exploring something. Thanks for your concern. I'm figuring it out. You protect your psychological space as fiercely as a gardener protects a seedling from frost. Simultaneously, you seek out distant light. While you may not have direct supporters, you can find indirect ones. You can find teachers in books, in biographies, in online lectures from people who have walked a similar lonely path. You listen to their stories not for a map, but for the evidence that the path exists. You join communities, even online ones, where the language of your endeavor is spoken. Here, you are not asking for validation, you are immersing yourself in a vocabulary of possibility. You are reminding yourself that your crazy idea is normal somewhere, to someone. This is oxygen for a suffocating spirit. Then comes the critical practice of celebrating micro-wins. With no one to clap for you, you must become the audience for your own progress. Finished a difficult chapter? Acknowledge it. Stuck to your system for a full month? Mark it. Solved a persistent problem? Take a moment to feel the satisfaction. These are not acts of ego. They are essential deposits in your confidence account. You are collecting proof for yourself that you are capable, that you are moving forward, that the effort is yielding results, however small. This empirical evidence becomes your armor against the voice of doubt, whether it comes from inside or outside. You must also make peace with the fact that your journey will be a masterclass in resilience. Setbacks will feel more personal, more confirming of the world's skepticism. A failure with supporters is a shared lament. A failure alone is a solitary tomb. You have to learn to reframe failure not as a verdict on your dream, but as data. It is information about what doesn't work. It is a necessary adjustment to your course, not a reason to abandon the ship. Each time you pick yourself up from a disappointment without an external hand, you are doing a rep of a psychological muscle. That muscle, resilience, will become your greatest strength. It is a strength forged only in the absence of a safety net. Understand, too, that the very lack of support can become a strange, secret weapon. There is a purity in working in silence. There are no performances, no updates meant to impress, no energy wasted on crafting an image for an audience. All your energy is directed inward, into the work itself. This can lead to a level of focus and authenticity that is often diluted when we work for applause. The work becomes its own reward. The craft becomes the companion. You learn to listen to the thing you are creating rather than the chatter of the crowd that isn't there. This deep, intimate dialogue with your own project is where true originality is often born. As you move forward, a subtle shift will begin to occur. Initially, you sought support, cheers, encouragement, belief. Now, you are building something far more valuable, self-reliance. This is the unshakable knowledge that you can depend on yourself, that your word to yourself is binding, that your resolve is not contingent on external circumstances. This self-reliance is the core of all lasting success. It is the foundation that cannot be taken from you because you built it, brick by brick, in the silence. And here is the quiet, almost ironic truth. Success, when built this way, often becomes magnetic. When you are no longer desperately seeking validation, but are instead steadily, quietly manifesting your vision, people begin to notice. The energy of neediness repels, the energy of self-contained creation attracts. Your results begin to speak. The finished novel, the launched business, the mastered skill, these become your arguments, more eloquent than any plea for support could have been. The very people who were silent or skeptical may come around, not because they suddenly see the light, but because you have become the light. They are not supporting the dream they couldn't see, they are responding to the reality you have built. But by that point, something inside you has changed. Their support, while perhaps welcome, is no longer essential. You have passed through the crucible of solitude and emerged with a different compass. You no longer look to the stands to see if you are winning. You feel it in your bones, in the integrity of the work, in the alignment between your effort and purpose. You have learned the most profound lesson of all, that the strongest support structure in the world is the one you construct within your own character, forged from discipline, fueled by purpose, and reinforced by the resilient act of getting up day after day and building something only you could see. So you stand now not at an empty edge, but at the beginning of a path you have already begun to pave. The silence is no longer a weight, it is a space, a clean, open space for you to build in. You will fill it not with noise seeking approval, but with the sound of your own labor, the click of the keyboard, the scratch of the pencil, the turning of pages, the iterative sound of trying again. This is the soundtrack of building a legacy on your own terms. It starts not with a crowd cheering your name, but with a single, deliberate breath in the quiet, and the decision to begin. And then another breath, and then another step. The path belongs to the walker, so walk. Now, as you stand in that space you're creating for yourself, I want you to consider a few things, not as a test, but as a way to map your own interior. Think back. When have you felt most alone in a pursuit? And what was that quiet, stubborn ember inside you that refused to go out, that became your only source of heat? And in your current journey, where does the friction lie? Is it in the first courageous step into the void, or is it the long, silent stretch of sustaining momentum when the novelty is worn off and the work is just work? What one tiny mechanical action can you systemize, not when you feel inspired, but especially when you don't? Look around your world, not with judgment, but with the eye of a curator. What voices or influences, even well-meaning ones, feel like subtle weights on your ankles, slowing your pace? And in contrast, what distant source, a biography on your shelf, a philosophy, the story of someone centuries gone who dared something, feels like a quiet signal boosting your own frequency? Here's perhaps the most liberating question to sit with. How would your relationship to your goal change if you knew with absolute certainty that no applause would ever come? If the only reward was the work itself and the person you became in doing it, what would that work need to give you to make it worthwhile? And when the inevitable stumble happens and you're alone to process it, can you see it not as a verdict whispered by the world, but as simple, neutral data? A signpost, however harsh, that merely says, adjust course. Remember, the most profound journeys are often etched in quiet. It's in the spaces between noise, built by the steady rhythm of our own discipline and a purpose we've defined for ourselves, that we forge a strength which no external opinion can grant or take away. Keep building that internal foundation, brick by brick. If this reflection offered a new lens for your own path, consider passing it on to someone else walking their quiet road. A like, a share, or subscribing to Better You Daily helps us continue to be a source of that distant light, offering perspective and companionship for the journey, especially when the path ahead feels uniquely, personally yours. Thank you for listening. Until next time, keep walking.